So whenever we talk, just try to keep it pretty close.
Like right here?
Yep, it'd be great.
Okay, cool.
But probably not like that, so we can
Don't
like
be
at
a
least see
rapper.
your face. All right, guys, how you doing? We're trying to do a 360-degree camera here, so if you look around, you could see everyone. And we are here to talk about our film, Heroes of the Realm, at RetroPub. And it's screening at deadCENTER, which is coming up here in a couple weeks. So we're going to go around real quickly and have everyone say who they are and what they did on the project.
Hi, I'm Bobbi Castor, and I wrote the song for this film, the theme song.
I'm Alissa Rose Ford, and I played Gina. I'm Toni Marlo, and I was the producer and first AD.
I'm Jack Odell, and I did costume design.
And I'm Jose Rodriguez. I'm the owner of FlashBack, and I just kind of stood back and watched the whole thing take place.
That's right. Yeah, FlashBack was one of our locations for the film, and it was awesome. It was before you guys actually opened, and it was a blast. So let's go around quickly. The film, when we made it in 2 days, and it's been a little crazy that this is a 48-hour film. It's kind of an underdog and shouldn't be in like all of these festivals all over the world, 3 different continents, over 20 festivals at this point. Which is more continents that I've been to. So it's just kind of fun of something that we made together in a couple of days, and it's kind of taken off. And kind of as the creators, we're going to go around quickly and just kind of talk about, from our personal perspective, why do we think it's taken off as well as it has, as won as many awards as it has, and why maybe people are connecting with it.
Me first? Okay. So I've never been a part of a 48-hour film challenge, and so from the outside looking in, I just think this was it was just a good team of people, and that were dedicated to the project and worked hard, and so I think that is going to bring success, when you're working hard no matter what. So that's why I think it's done pretty dang well.
Cool.
So
What do you think, Alyssa?
I think it's just a really fun, short little film that everyone can get into. It has that whole outside world and mixed with reality, and I think people they relate to that really easy, kind of being playful and fun. But it's short and sweet, so people can watch it quickly and be like, yeah, be done with it. I think people connect with it for the same reasons. It was incredibly playful, really fun, easy to watch. We didn't go too deep as far as the storyline, but at the same time, it still took you into another world. And we had great costumes, and we had great makeup, we had great hair, we had great actors, we had great music, great illustrations, and it made everything just really fun and jam-packed, kind of like an action movie. I went a little bit of action, but it was just intense fun in a really short amount of time. And it was, compared to a lot of the other short films that you see, it was like a breath of fresh air. It just was right there, and then it went too long. It didn't drag out, so it was good.
Well, I pretty much agree with everything that you guys said. It's unfortunate that I'm last. But honestly, who doesn't like an arcade? It's fun. It's, I think there's been a lot of movies where it kind of sinks you into another world like this, and I think everybody connects to it because it touches your childhood, and it touches, your playful side, like you mentioned, and it was colorful, and you've got that kind of goofy, main superhero guy that does right by girl and saves the day and woman power at the end. Yeah, you have all those things packed into this film, and I think that's why it did well.
Well, I've never been a part of any film, but it seemed like everyone who was a part of it was dedicated to making the best film possible. I'm glad that it was filmed here. I think it added a lot to it, to the storyline, obviously. But the creative genius that you guys had with some of the things you did with the machines that maybe doesn't necessarily show up on the film as to what it took to do it, but it was just a lot of thought put into something that was essentially a very short film. You could just tell that, everyone was really on top of their game with the creativeness and how it all played out.
But one thing I think that first of all, you have to have the right team. And like as Toni was talking about, we had fantastic wardrobe and makeup and visual effects and actors and music and all this stuff that really works together when we all mesh together. But on top of that, when you do something in a couple days, there's no chances to double think, double guess, second guess, triple guess, whatever yourself. It's we're all out there doing it, and I think that shows in the final product as feeling fresh, if that makes sense. So I think it's one of those kind of intangible things, but when it's all working and clicking together somewhat, there were a lot of issues that we had, but when you make something and make something together in 2 days, like it's gonna feel very fresh because it is. Like it's very natural at that point. But okay, let's kind of single some people out right now, and Alissa, we're gonna put you on the hot seat first, and tell us a little bit about your character, Gina.
So Gina was the best friend of the main character, Anya, and she was just kind of the straight character of the whole thing. She didn't want to be part of the whole fantasy world. She was kind of comedic for being so sarcastic and straightforward. And she was just kind of fun, and she was fun to be normal in a fantasy world when everyone else buys into it and just accepts it. And she was like, "No, I'm not feeling that." So yeah, that was her.
Awesome. And then Toni, tell us a little bit about being a producer and maybe some tips of people that are wanting to join like a 40-hour race. So it's here every summer, sometime around July or August. And if they're wanting to kind of get into this, what tips do you have of like forming a team? That's a big part of being a producer.
Okay. So for me, I'm a makeup artist by trade. So this was my first experience of doing this. But working on films and commercials that I have, I really have an outside perspective or a different perspective on kind of what it takes. So this was the first time that I pulled this together. And for me, it was all about creating really a synergy and really making sure that we didn't have too many of one type of skill set. And pulling that together. And also the tips that I really have for people that want to do this is you want to organize and plan as much as you can within the rules that allow, because 48 Hour is meant to be given a certain set of rules, at 6 p.m. on Friday, and then you have to make a film. But you can do so many other things planning. You can have a lot of different locations already set up, at least ideas. Get yourself a good warehouse, a good school, outside play, get all that lined up and have your crew mostly together, already have a meeting place that you're going to meet, right after you get those rules. And it's setting a structure and a really tight structure to be prepared to completely throw the structure away. So I think that's the best tip that I could give.
Cool. Jack, can you tell us about costumes? And obviously we Friday night we're doing this arcade world that comes to our world and all this other stuff. What do you think about all that and how did that come together?
Well, it's totally different from what Toni said in my world. There is no pre-planning at all. I mean, okay, we're going to do it in an arcade, but because of some of the stipulations, you get...
Pre-planning was to bring you.
Yeah.
And you kind of knew the actors and their sizes, but that's about it.
Yeah, but that's about it. So, you're like, okay, we have an arcade space, but that we don't know what our genre is. So when, that genre comes... And I'm knowing, having worked with you, that it's going to somehow involve a lot of intense costume. That's why you asked me. And that's why I'm here. So for me, it's like as soon as I find out, that's like ground zero for me. And it's like I work through the night, generally. I might get a couple hours of sleep. I'm a person that really likes to also work on the fly. So I just I'm pulling like that day I went and pulled gold fabric. I mean people don't have those things in their closet, but I do, and I know people who do. So I had to I did set up all my friends who I wanted to pull from to know that I would be contacting them as soon as I knew. And I would be over there to pick out pieces. Chase Vegas, shout out to him. He did a lot of giving me pieces for that film. So and then the day of, it's just you guys saw me back there. It's just stuff flying, and it's just making stuff on the fly. And what I like working with this group is that for the most part everybody's pretty calm. And I mean, even when things going crazy, it's just it seems like everything's still, it's going to happen and nobody's going to freak out. Nobody's yelling. And that's a huge thing. If you're going to make things like that work, you have to be calm because you just look like a fool if you're not. And so even if I am freaking out inside, I am going to try very hard not to freak out outside.
I have to say, it's also really incredible to be back there and see you take a sheet of gold metallic fabric and walk away and come back in 30 minutes and someone's in a full costume that you have literally just sewn onto someone and you're like, there he is. It's a miracle to watch you work. I just have to say that.
Thank you. That's
it's
awesome.
amazing. We walk away, you're you're going to be this. We come back and then it's just boom, it's done.
Last year you had to memorize a song right before we shot it. which was a lot of fun. Let me talk about that real quick. Crouching Lion, we could show it on the TV that's not there right now, but will be later.
Well, that was just an interesting experience. I had never worked with anyone here before, and I knew I wanted to work with all of you because I'd heard of names and stuff. But
all lies.
No, it's true, and I tricked Kyle into letting me do it, and then we show up the next day that we get our genre, which is like, what was it? Was it music or fantasy? Music. It was musical.
Yeah,
and then
musical was the genre.
Musical, and then we made it a fantasy, and yeah, and I said yes, and that was such a bad idea. Where were you last year?
And Colin Nance
then-
wrote 8 tracks that I showed up and like, here's 8 tracks, pick one of these, and then we picked one and wrote lyrics real quick. And
while you're doing my makeup, you're literally sewing fabric on my body, and then you lead me out into a forest and you're like, sing. Oh, so kind of what you said earlier about it comes together really well because you do not have time to second guess it. It makes it work because, yeah, you don't have time to be like, I'm afraid. You're just like, go. We don't have time to think about it.
absolutely.
It makes it work.
That's cool. I'm going to talk a little bit about the visual effects in Heroes of the Realm. We had Chris Castor on board, myself, and Andy Seifried. And Andy, his whole job for 48 hours was to create an arcade game to actually look like an 8-bit arcade game, which is phenomenal. When you see this footage, like it looks like it's a real arcade game and they're playing this game. I did a lot of the optical flares and some of that visual effects in the post-credits that on there. And then Chris Castor did a lot of our 3D work. Like you see, they come out of the door and you'll see like bomb moms.
No idea what you guys are talking about. It's a little creature.
It's a little bomb.
It's a bomb.
It's like a little round.
Like in Mario.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay, so let's move on now. Visual effects are great. Bobby, tell us.
They were amazing, yeah. I think that was the part that you were saying earlier that it doesn't really show in the film of the work that went behind the scenes, that Anya walks up to an arcade that is just, we use the structure of the arcade. That game does not exist in this building, and it was completely created. The guy and everything was created.
And almost all the Q&As that
Saturday
we
night.
go to and we tell them about that, they said, I thought that was, we were actually, one person in Chicago had a question about copyrights and how we got the copyright
wow.
for that game in that time. It's
Yeah.
like, well, we made that
We're
game.
like, yeah, no, I think Andy said at 9 a.m.
The closest game that would match up to it would be like Golden Axe.
Which we got a lot of inspiration from.
Yeah. So Golden Axe would be the closest, but yeah, same thing. It's you look at it and you're like, oh, that's a cool game. It's not really a game. You guys just put that together. So.
And I'm not to put anybody like other teams down, but I mean,
But
I think
you
there's
suck.
a lot. No, there's a lot. Like, there's a lot. I think that this particular team like really just tries to force more out of ourselves than maybe is expected. I mean, making an entire video game and making special effects, that's just not every team's different in their dynamics and and their style, and I think that's this team is like.
And we wouldn't have it any other way. Like, it's not anyone, but anyone can do like a short film with 3 people talking in a room and the clothes that they're already in, and it could be really interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
my favorite movie is
that works.
Breakfast Club, and it's mostly in one room.
Right.
But we want to really push ourselves and see what we're capable of.
Right.
It's almost like every person that's involved on it is just trying to one up the other person. No, really, and I mean in a good way. They're trying, because I think
I hate you, Jack.
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys,
Especially Jack and I.
You guys understand each other so well that you know what buttons to push to get more out of you and get more creativity and more inspiration, because you see someone on your team do something overnight, build a complete game, and that just kind of makes you want to up what you're doing and up your game and bring your best to the table, because that's your team and you don't want to let them down. At least to me, when I'm looking at all the moving parts, when I really don't have anything to do but to stand around, and I'm seeing how it's like every person's just one up in the other one in a good way, oh, you're pushing me, I really got to deliver above this.
Healthy competition together.
It's great. It's just, I mean, it just speaks volume for why the film's so popular, because everyone just really stepped up their game.
Do we want to talk a little about Kate and how amazing she was our lead and how amazing a job she did in the film?
I wish she was here. She jumped in and killed it. It really worked out that we had someone on our team that was a fight choreographer, right?
Yeah.
And amazing actress, and yeah, this is the first time I've worked with her. Yeah.
First she was work with her, and she just was a ball of energy. And she like walked in the room, and she was like, "I'm here, I'm ready." And that's exactly who she was. Like she was ready to go, ready to do whatever needed to be done.
Yeah, it was incredible. And she was the main, obviously she was in almost every shot.
every scene,
and so
yeah.
it was 14, 16-hour day with her, and she did not drop her energy one bit. I mean, she was ready to rock and roll.
And flipping over Kato and all kinds of stuff. Another thing, we kind of shared some crazy stories already, and some things that people always say is, "I love this song," or "I hate you guys because it's so catchy," and I have it in my head right now. But talk a little bit about the song, maybe a crazy memory you have from it.
Yeah, so this was like the first time I've ever been challenged to do something on a time limit. And then the next morning, I got out in my car. It was like 7 in the morning. I was in my pajamas, and I'm trying to think of like a secluded place to record the song because Chris had been up all night. He's asleep on the couch. So I'm like, okay, I got to go sing this somewhere. So I get in my car, and I just start singing it like a cappella. Like I have no other instrument, nothing. I'm just like snapping. Yeah, like to keep a beat so I could send it to Colin. And that's how the song was created. So I think what he did is kind of just layered on whatever I sang on a voice memo. And yeah, that's the final cut of it. It was just me in my back seat, like singing it. Like we had no key for it. I mean, we just kind of like went with it. But that's what I think is cool about the whole thing is like, that's how stuff happens, how it's put together.
So we talked about shooting here at RetroPub. Tell us a little bit about RetroPub's journey and kind of how it's gone, how it's been.
Oh, where do we begin? When you guys came in to start filming, we were still a good 2.5 to 3 months away from opening. So I was a little bit nervous, but in a good way, at least for me. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed having everyone here, and I pretty much said, do whatever you need to do, just as long as you don't break something, then we're good. Even when you guys were kind of moving some of the games around, and I'm like, how can I help? Because they're heavy and they're delicate. So
Didn't want 'em broke?
Yeah, I didn't want them to break before we even open. So I try to help out as much as I can from that standpoint. But you do, if you're going to participate in something like this, you basically just have to go into it knowing that, hey, it's open house. Like, you guys are taking over, and whatever you need, I was here just to try to play a good host and help out as much as possible. But we're finally open. We opened up in October, and we're going on 8 months now of being open, which that in itself for a bar is a good feat. Be celebrating 1 year here in October, so we're excited about that. I think there's a little bit of something for everyone. We do stuff from arcade tournaments on the weekends, Friday, Saturday nights. We have DJs that play 80s music. We do trivia night. We do 80s and 90s karaoke night.
You've done like an 80s prom.
Yes, we've done an 80s prom, the Pretty in Pink prom. We do a monthly event every month that's just a different theme. So we really just try to encompass as much as we can that involves the 80s, and sometimes we do stuff for the 90s because a lot of people are like, oh, I wish you did this for the 90s, because we have a lot of 90s younger people that are just like, this is all 80s, I don't remember any of this.
What is this stuff?
Yeah, what is this?
So that's about all we have. I was going to kind of mention stuff we have coming up this coming weekend, Labor Day weekend. We are in Orlando at MegaCon, flashing all around us. I think that's the wrap it up lights. We're at Tulsa Comic Con and Mini Movie Fest in Santa Monica, and we have some other huge announcements that I can't wait to do when we're able to talk about it. We have a lot of like smirks on our faces right now, but these are just kind of some of the ones that we can share. We got Fan Expo Dallas coming up beginning of June. deadCENTER, of course, June 10th and 12th for those of you that are in the metro area, Oklahoma City metro area. Las Vegas Super Toy Con and Fly Film Festival in Enid on August 5th. So I guess thanks for joining us.
This is awesome.
Thank you.
We're the heroes of the room.
We're the heroes of the realm. Everybody pray.